clean. The floors just need to be steamed.
Okay.
All right, guys, I will start these. I think we're live. We're live.
Yes, we are. You are live.
Uh-oh. Well, I didn't get the intro started, so here we go. Surprise. Here we go. Surprise. Sorry about the intro this afternoon. It has been very interesting up here where I'm at. So glad to have everybody with us tonight. And I would like to say I apologize for last week, and I appreciate Tom and Melissa for doing a little bit that they did with us there. Did you guys do a chat, Tom? I never got to get a chance to get on.
No, we didn't. We were down to my sister's place, so no, we didn't come on. I don't think we actually came on all weekend, did we? Because Joey didn't have one on Saturday either. I don't believe so. No.
Okay. Well, I apologize about Thursday. I was actually out delivering bees to more people here in Ashe County. Had Lou Rascal, her and her husband donated 15 more colonies to the people here in Ashe County, just like Tom there donated hives, and so did Keith Spillman over here. And we do appreciate that, folks, helping the beekeepers out here in North Carolina. So I did not get back in time for the live chat because I'm a little bit like Tom. When I get around a bunch of beekeepers, I can talk for hours.
It happens.
It's just part of it.
It happens.
So.
Yeah.
It happens.
Funny how that works.
Yeah. Has anybody just bees, you're just that connected, right?
Yep.
So I did, and you may have seen on the front page here, I did change a stock trailer over to have a mobile bee yard. So I'm looking forward to going down to this guy's place and stealing his honey flows. And maybe Keith won't be too mad about that, but no, it'll be really good to move this mobile yard to do stuff like I think Tom and Matt was talking about move some bees. Man, just move that trailer and just undo it, and it's locked. Bears can't get in there. With the locks, people can't get in there. And boom, your bees are on a flow, on something that's moving. So that's really good. My sourwood's always been on my mind to catch, and with this mobile trailer, I can do that. So I'm really excited about it. It holds 14 colonies. It is part of the problem. It's hard to get down the center of it a little bit without turning sideways. So inspections should be kind of interesting with that. And then also here in North Carolina, the Flat Rock North Carolina Bee Conference is going on this week, and I will mention that tomorrow I will be driving down to see Justin Ruger. If anybody knows who Justin Ruger is, he does the disability beekeeping. We had donated a rotating hive to him. Eat with Justin Ruger. So if you're in that area and you would like, to come out and eat with us, we will be down there.
I would.
Yeah, come on down, Tom. So
I'll tell you what, Cracker Barrel's got some good lemon pepper trout.
Oh yeah.
I mean, you had to mention food. You just had to do that. I mean, Keith, he's setting us up here. You know that, right?
Always.
I'm sorry, I'm taking off course.
No,
Please,
you're
continue on. I'm sorry.
No, if you're in the Flat Rock area and you want to come and eat with me and Justin Ruger, come on out. We would be glad to have you. And if you're at a conference, already, and you're catching this live tonight, swing on out. We would like to see other beekeepers. That's what makes beekeeping so fun for me. So, flow is coming in hard. We are getting basswood really good right now. The supers are filling up finally. I really don't like the basswood. Don't like the flavor, to be honest with you, but many people do. It's got a real minty flavor. I'm just not much on mint, so it is definitely a good flavor that a lot of people really enjoy.
Yeah.
So it is booming here. So hopefully, start basswood. So anyway, so Keith Spillman is just down the mountain. So what's going on in your area, Keith?
Oh, mostly sweating, but so that seems to be a lot of that going on pretty much everywhere down this way and out Tom's way, everywhere. But yeah, the flow's pretty much over with here. I mean, there's still some clover, some mimosa going on. We don't have any basswood. I think we've got some up in the western part of the county, up towards the Brushy Mountains. I've extracted minty flavor to it that I wasn't used to, and I'm pretty sure that's what that was. But I've looked around down here. I don't see any basswood here. But so without any flow going on, I pulled all my excess supers off. Went ahead and I don't usually set them out, but you really got no choice. That last time before you store them, you got to get that last little bit of honey out, and it's not worth extracting it, just making a mess. So I set out. I've got those stored away on my mouth crystals. So cleaned up and ready to go. I put a video out yesterday, I believe, about cleaning up frames and storing boxes. So started my treatments Monday, my first round of OA. So before the live started, how much fun it was. 90 degrees with a respirator and goggles, and the ladies got a little feisty, so I had to put my pullover on, and it's just wonderful.
Miserable.
It's just wonderful. Sitting there with your glasses, with your goggles fogged up, waiting for the smoke to clear to go to the next hive. So yeah, love it. But yeah, that's kind of what's going on here. This is the fun time of the year for a beekeeper. A lot of honey to sell. So that's about the only time I get to rest. Is when I go to the market and I have to sit still for 3 hours. So but it's still hot. But that's okay.
So Keith, before I move on to Tom, are you pretty much like most beekeepers in my area that that when the goldenrod, you don't really try to catch any of the goldenrod, you just pretty much give that to your bees?
Every year I say I'm not going to mess with it because I never make any honey off of it, and then I end up throwing some supers on. But I'm going to say again this year, I'm not going to try to chase goldenrod because I never get anything off of it. But I've got several acres of it just right close to the bees, and I've never made any goldenrod honey. I'm sure they get some pollen off of it. Maybe they get some for their own use. But no, I won't be. I've probably got maybe 3 or 4 supers I might extract, but that's about it for me. There is some of the hives are very close to having the brood box plugged out. I might have to pull a little bit of honey. I'm overachieving the little 5-frame nukes, so I might have to pull a little honey out of them to give them some room. Kind of a funny story here. I've mentioned a couple of times that one of my newbies, I sold her a couple of 5-frame nukes, 3 stories high. I delivered them, I don't know, a couple, 3 weeks ago. Anyway, before I delivered them, I put 5 foundations in the 3 high stack because I didn't want them to blow up on her. I wanted her to have some time to ease into it, have time to get used to her hives. She'd come down here several times, and then she knew all about, well, not all about, she knew enough about doing an inspection where she could do an inspection. But anyway, it had been a couple of weeks, and I went up there. We were going to do our first inspection with her new hives. And man, we popped those things open, and they were totally plugged out in 2 weeks. And I was looking around, and I'm like, what in the world y'all got blooming up here? And I looked across the road, and there were firewood trees everywhere. And about 1,500 foot I'm like, well, dang, I hadn't really counted on that because we got starwood here, but we don't get anything off of it. They might get a little pollen, but we don't get any nectar to speak of. But boy, a few 100 foot, and that hive, I'm gonna. Luckily, I had also sold her a spare two hive box just in case we ever had to do a splitter. So I took those 2 boxes and made them both 4 high 5-frame nukes. And I'm gonna go up again. And man, if they've filled that up, I'm gonna have to I might put them in a regular 10-frame box. I can't go 5, 6 high with a nuke. It's gonna that's going to get a little unstable on the medium boxes anyway. But yeah, you got to be very aware. Like I said, there's basswood up in the western part of the county. You know, that ain't but 15 miles from here, 12, 15 miles. Now, where I sold these nukes is probably about 25 miles on up towards Roaring Gap, State Road area. And man, you gain a few 100 foot in altitude, and all of a sudden you got a whole new source of nectar that you hadn't counted on, and you better be ready for it. So it's amazing. It's amazing. Okay, I'll quit rambling.
Everybody keeps saying I've got bad audio. I'm keep cutting out, so I might try to change that up here in just a second. Before I do, I'm going to let Tom go ahead, and I'll try to work on my audio. Tom, you know, me and Keith was just talking about, you know, it's only 80 degrees here, but I'm like changing my clothes like 4 times a day when I'm in the bee yard. So, how's that going for you?
Yeah, not great. I could probably change my clothes 4 or 5 times as well. You know, it's just get soaked, dry out, you know, rinse, repeat, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just humid, just typical Midwest, you know, even where you're at, you know, just typical humidity. It's settled in pretty hard, I guess. So like where we're at, I actually haven't extracted anything yet. So Keith, I like the idea how you extract multiple times, and the idea of it is beautiful. The reality for me doesn't meet up with you know, the idea of it, unfortunately. I would say if I had a dedicated honey house with a room that just had the equipment set up, you know, just all the time, that would make it much easier, because then I could go out, maybe if I needed to dry it down some more, dehumidify the space, dry it down, and then I could extract that off and then put it in a tank or put it in some buckets, whatever I decided to do, you know, and then I could, you know, say, hey, I know this was from this time to this time. So you could kind of almost capture varietals, I guess, much like probably what you're doing yourself. Again, unfortunately, that just hasn't happened. At some point in extraction, now we usually separate the boxes up as far as our light and dark, and that's kind of how we extract it. And then you can also tell by how the stack goes too. I didn't specifically do this on mine, but I know a guy in my area that does this. He'll actually when the super is full, he'll put a piece of tape on it, on the super itself, and he'll actually write the date on there. So if you know exactly what's bloomed up until that point, or let's just say they filled one super within a couple of weeks or a week, whatever it might be, that actually is pretty easy, because now you can almost kind of certify or guarantee, you know, that there was only these few nectar sources, or maybe one nectar source that was really blooming. So you can kind of, you know, figure out exactly what that is. But anyway, for us, I really have not been, well, I've been in the bee yard pretty often. I don't spend as many hours in the bee yard at this point in time as I had in the past, but just because it's so unbearably hot. And yeah, so my plan is this next week, we're going to start pulling our supers off, and if it can work out, things are open. We would like to do mite checks on colonies, and then maybe even get some treatments down on them. Not sure if it's going to happen. We were able to do it a couple of years ago, and it worked out really nice. The temperatures kind of lined up with the apigard. You know, that's kind of the Achilles heel of the apigard is temperature. You know, it's there's a sensitivity there. So anyway, if it can kind of work out, and I kind of watch the forecast a couple weeks here or there and figure out what that looks like, because as soon as I pull supers, I am eager and I am wanting to get treatments down, and that's my goal. Is I'm wanting to clean colonies up, and at that point in time, you can actually go down into the colonies that you had supered up and really do a nice inspection to kind of figure out where they're at. Because I said this before on the chat with the stream team last night. Once I super up, I don't typically dive down to the brood nest, because I am not trying to pull off 1, 2, 3, 4, or even to get down there and see what's going on. A lot of times, like for instance, yesterday, Melissa and I were in a bee yard working for a few hours, and we still have some double screen boards. I still have some colonies over some colonies. So basically, I have a parent colony anywhere between, say, 1 and 4 or 5 supers, and then I have a double screen board, and I've got either single or double 8s now on top of those. So some of these are actually towers. But it's kind of like, when land is a precious commodity, when in a metropolitan area, it's cheaper to go up than to go out, right? So for me, for right now, it's been a little bit more beneficial to go up. It's a little bit more down. So our plan is to pull honey probably this next week. If we can, we're going to might check, write our numbers down, maybe even potentially get our first round of treatments down, and start extracting basically the week following. So that'll probably be at least probably 3 days, maybe 4 days to do that. So that's our process. But yeah, hot and humid here. There really is not much to speak of as far as flow. I haven't noticed any robbing on colonies yet. Mimosa blooming here. There's still clover blooming, and I actually just sent Ricky a couple of pictures earlier today. One of our yards is near some agricultural fields, and they have soybeans in there. And I was very interested in knowing exactly what stage the plant was in, because I had Kent Williams in St. Louis on Tuesday afternoon. So I got to monopolize his time for a couple hours before our meeting and really ask him a bunch of questions about a lot of different things. And one of the topics that we were discussing happened to be, what's blooming, what's producing nectar, and on the agricultural crops. When it comes to soybeans, he said, in my experience, if there's a white bloom on there, depending on a few different things, they'll usually produce nectar. The purple bloomed ones, I think that, and he kind of went into some details, and I don't remember all the details of that. The ones that have the purple bloom on them don't typically produce any nectar. So when I went across, I finished up in that bee yard today inspecting a few. I introduced some queens a couple weeks ago. I was just double checking them. Whenever I went over there to look, I was kind of walking through the edge of the field, and I seen just the start of some little bitty blooms in there, little white blooms. And I seen a couple bees on them. So I think, and when I took a picture of it with my PlantNet app, if anybody in the crowd knows about, let's see, let me find it here real quick. It was Glycine Max soybean, GLYCINE, Glycine Max. And it basically said they're self-pollinating, but they are attracted to pollinators like honeybees due to their nectar, which is high in sugar. So that was a good thing. So hopefully, at least in that bee yard, if they can bring a little bit of nectar in, they're going uphill, they're not going downhill. So that's less feed that I would potentially have to. But our nectar flows are kind of tailing off a little bit at this point. So best I can hope for is pull my honey, get it extracted, might checks, get treatments on, throw some extra boxes on, maybe some stimulative feed, maybe draw an extra box of comb out for next year. So at that point, that's really my only goals left for this year, basically. So we'll see what happens.
Well, it sounds like a good plan, but yeah, it's easy to see, the small number of hives I've got compared to what a lot of you guys run. The way I do it just don't work for a large number of hives. I mean, it could work, but that would be a lot of work. That would be a lot of equipment. That would, yeah, it'd be tough.
That's right.
It's the same way I see. I'm doing my OAV treatments on 35 hives. Last year I had 22, 24. Is a pain. I can see where a lot of the folks that have a lot of hives, they're not using OAV probably for that reason. I mean, that's just that's a time consuming thing, especially if you try to do multiple treatments. So the maths just don't work.
So I got a little bit of information from, oh my gosh, I'm having the mind blank. Kent Williams the other day when he came in. So he uses a lot of Formic Pro, and I was asking him about that. And then after him and I had some conversations, and I thought about it all night, I actually ended up ordering a 30-dose box of Formic Pro. I'm going to be going up to John Hill's company tomorrow to pick up something, and I said, hey, can you add some a 30-dose box of Formic Pro on there? And they said, yeah, absolutely. So he had a pretty good price on it, actually. So if anybody's looking for Formic Pro, he's got a good price on it. But anyway, so I'm going to get that. So what he actually does, and he was telling me, and he kind of talked to me a little bit about the temperature threat. Normally you would put, I think, 2 pads on, 10 days and then another 10 days. What he said he does is he said he puts 1 pad on and he leaves it on for 10 days. Then he pulls it. He said most of your off-gassing is going to happen within the first 2 to 3 days. He said that's going to be the most critical time. He goes, it'll beat them up a little bit. He goes, you could notice a little bit of brood kill inside there. He said, but what he does then after that, he goes, so when you put it on, start counting out 25 days. You have your treatment on for 10 days, pull it off. And I said, you do a second pad. He said, no, I'm not supposed to. What I do is, because when you use a product like Formic Pro, any of the acids, or you use like Apigard, the thymol base, that does generally shut the queens down for a short period of time, is what it'll do. When that happens, there's usually a good few-day window, maybe as much as a week, where if she stops laying for a handful of days during the initial off-gassing and then picks back up, if you count out to the 25th day, any brood that was laid before that will have been capped and hatched out, and then the eggs that she had laid won't be to the point to where they will have been. He goes, you shoot oxalic acid in the front door right there, and he goes, you knock them all back with that. So I'm like, that's a great idea. So he's really just capitalizing on not having any brood cappings in there for a short window. So that's going to be my plan on a handful of colonies. So if it's a 30-dose pack, they usually come with 2 pads, because the idea is supposed to use 2 pads. So if I only use the 1 pad, potentially I could use it on 60 colonies if I want to, right? Even though I've got like 5 tubs of Apigard down there. But nonetheless, I'm going to try it on some of these colonies, and I'll have to watch the temperatures a little bit. It can't get up above that 90-degree mark, and he said I wouldn't do it. But so anyway, hopefully the temperatures line up, and that's what I'm gonna give a try on some of them, and then I'm gonna record my results and see how well it works for me. So I don't know, it'll be a new trial and error deal. So
one of the things Kent Williams says, I would kind of say it's got to be pretty good. He's been in it for a very long time, and he knows his beekeeping.
He definitely does. He is a wealth of knowledge, and he'll share with you all those fun little tips and tricks and things that you can do. And he was able to share a few things with me too, in regards to treatments and such, but also some other things that I thought that I'm going to implement within my own operation, actually. So it's great to have guys like that. They're more than willing to share information to help other people out. So looks like we have a new young man sitting in here.
Yeah.
Jed, how you doing, buddy?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing good. Well, now we can put a face with a name.
Yeah, I've been changing the name recently because I'm not sure what I wanted to be.
Okay.
I think it's
so how are your bees doing?
like 4 days. They are doing really well right now. I just marked my first queen today for the first time.
Yeah. How'd that work for you?
It went well. It went really well. I just put a little too much paint on her torso, or I don't know, abdomen, I guess you would call it. And so yeah, but I think she'll be okay. It didn't go on her eyes or anything.
Yeah. Well, I only chuckle because I've done the same thing, buddy. You're not alone here, okay? So just understand it happens to the best of us, you know, so it's a learning experience.
Yeah. But other than that,
Uh-oh.
Wow.
What's off on you?
Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Power went out. Yep. He was telling me he was having some really bad thunderstorms where he was at. So apparently it looks like he has gotten knocked off tonight.
Yeah. Yeah, they've been rolling through down here the past few days. It's been quiet tonight, but last week it comes out in the morning. I found a tree laid up against my power lines this morning when I went out for my morning walk and found some burnt little limbs laying in the driveway.
I seen that.
Where it had toasted them,
Yeah.
and, trying to blow the tree out. So that helps that humidity a lot. You know, when you have those nightly thunderstorms and then the sun pops out the next morning and phew, it's tough.
Yeah, that's the worst.
That's what we were dealing with yesterday.
What's that?
That's kind of what we were dealing with yesterday.
You gonna come in here and chat?
Oh.
Nope. I'm gonna eat
Uh-oh.
over here.
Ricky's out again. Everybody's having problems, Keith.
I noticed over in the chat they're talking about we're all breaking up a little bit. Not sure what's up with that.
So am I still breaking up in the chat, folks? Somebody drop a comment in there if the feed is not good. I feel like I've got a pretty good internet connection right now, but maybe there's something else going on.
I think I just went out. We're back to going again. Sorry about that.
It's okay. We can figure it out here.
So, Ricky, are you going to leave those hives on the trailer even when you bring them back home? Are you? Okay.
I'm
park
gonna.
it in your yard.
Yeah, well, probably what I'm planning on doing with those, Keith, is actually kind of just following some of the heavy goldenrod flow, and then I'm actually going to move them off the mountain. It'll probably be Statesville area. It'll be past Greensboro for sure, probably. So it'll be past where you're located at, and I want to overwinter them there because it's so hard on the bees up in this area. And then they would start early, right? You know, because you're starting in like February, and I'm waiting all the way to April before anything gets going up here. So this would absolutely help me get my bees boosted. So when they get here, then I'm ready to do my queen rearing at the same time because those colonies will be strong. There's plenty of drones out because those colonies will be really, really strong. Yeah. And I'll be catching like the poplar flow where you're at, then coming up here and catching the poplar flow where I'm at, and you know, maybe missing a dearth if I need to. So that's the game plan anyway.
Yeah. I guess the only downside, it'll be like you got it'll be like having an out yard. You'll have some bees to tend to a ways away.
Yeah.
But, unless you can talk some beekeeper into looking after them for you.
Exactly.
A skinny one so they can get.
Yeah, that's right. Somebody that doesn't like to eat a lot.
Yeah. Somebody can fit through those areas really easy to do inspection because that's going to be the hard parts, inspections in that thing.
So maybe I missed it and I wasn't paying attention. That could be the better description there. But do you have them in an enclosed trailer? Is that what I'm understanding?
Yes, it's a stock trailer basically.
Oh, a stock trailer. Okay, I got you. Yeah. Okay. Very good.
Yeah. And that just allows, again, for the bears not to be able to access the bees. Yeah. I've got the hole porters through the steel. Okay. So there's little bitty holes. You know, there's 5 of those for them to enter in. They're 5/8. So they can really protect themselves that way. And I can actually lock the back tailgate and lock the trailer itself. So there's nobody that can really take off with this trailer. So when you really start adding it up, it's 14 colonies. There's a lot of money there, you know, and that worries me because we've had a lot of bees stolen in North Carolina. So
Yeah. Yeah.
So I was going to get Ruth to paint it this really fancy bee look. I'm like, oh yeah, make it look like a bee, and it'll be great. And everybody said, oh, that's Rick's trailer. But then I thought, maybe an old beat up stock trailer.
Right.
Someone won't want that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's probably that's a
ahead,
better idea. Just make it look like an old trailer.
Yeah.
Just leave it.
It's
look
like
like
taking your new extension cords and wrapping electrical tape around them to make them look old, so nobody will steal them.
That's right. I remember whenever we were younger, when you used to get like, nice sound equipment in your car, you had certain things you liked, you put the stickers on your vehicle, right? And then you kind of wisen up to that because it's nothing more than what we would refer to as a steal me sticker. When you have all these cool stuff in there, it's like, oh, well, they realize what you have in the car. I mean, you're just advertising, for the thieves and the dishonest folks to come take your stuff, so, kind of go incognito, keep it maintained well enough to use, but beyond that, just, utilize it to its fullest ability.
Yeah, that's the game plan with that. It's just to make it functional, something I can move around and catch a lot of honey. And again, that way it'll set my bee yard up here when I need the drones the most. We can't really start producing queens until those drones are going. I mean, you can produce queens early, but without that drone population, it's not going to work. So that's definitely the ideal for me. So
sure.
Yep.
Yeah, definitely. Ricky, have you extracted any of your honey at this point?
I have extracted, I think it was 6 super so far, and that's been it. So, and again, I've started from the beginning. Some of that honey come from Keith because he had a couple colonies down where he was at, and he nursed them back up to life, especially one of them. And then some early swarms that was donated to me. But I think I'm back up to 42 with all the queen rearing stuff that I've been doing.
Awesome.
So,
Wow.
Yeah. I'm excited how well it's been going. So, and the inspector came out on Monday, and he checked my bees, said they look great. So that makes you feel good, right?
Was that Colonel Sanders?
No, this was a different guy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. This is a guy that is actually local to this area, and he come out and I wanted to be able to sell queens. And in North Carolina, you have to be, have them to look at your bees. $25. They come out, looked at the bees. He said, all the bees look great. And I hadn't been in them for about 20 days just because of the fact that we had all that robbing going on. And when he was here, the flow had been going for about 4 or 5 days. He's like, oh, yeah, your bees look good. There's a lot of nectar in here. But what really blew me away was the pollen. That basswood had some pollen, and some of the bigger colonies that are going to produce more honey with this basswood flow, I'm doing single brood management. And when I got down to the bottom of those boxes, she doesn't have very much room to lay. So for you guys, should I take that pollen out of that bottom box and give her clean frames to be able to lay on? Because I'm really scared that they may try to swarm because there's no room to lay in there. So what do you guys think about that?
You got to give her room to lay. She has to have room to lay.
In that pollen this time of year, if they don't use it all, what I've seen, the pollen left over from this year and the next year, they don't pay much attention to it. They like the new stuff.
Yeah.
So, like Tom said, you got to give her room.
Yeah.
I mean, if it's nice fresh pollen, you could always freeze it and use it next year.
Yeah.
If it stays in a hive, it turns kind of dark, and most of the time my bees don't pay much attention to it if it's a year old pollen.
Right. Well, that's the thing for me is I don't want them to swarm. I mean, right now is not a good time to have a colony requeen itself. It's okay to take a nuke and take a queen and do a combine and all that stuff, but I definitely do not want to have my big colonies down right now. I want them to keep rolling. So,
yeah.
I've got a friend. I'm going over, I guess, early in the morning. He's lost a queen, and gosh, it's probably been lost for a while. I went and looked at his hive, and it's pretty empty. But I'm going to take one of my strong nukes over there in the morning and just drop a nuke in his hive, and that's the easy way to do it.
Right.
The nuke is stronger than his hive is, so no problem with queen acceptance. So I'll get him back in business. Hey, Charlie.
Hey. What's up? As far as that pollen down there, you can get pollen bound, pull that stuff out of there.
Yeah.
And they, like you said, they like fresh and all that.
You know, you could even pull those frames out, freeze them, and then give them back to them in the fall. If there's no pollen left in there, give them back to them in a month or two. You know,
That's a good idea.
Right before they're getting ready to rear the winter bees. Then they'll have good nutrition in there. You know,
Right.
so
Do that, and also use them for if you're doing queen rearing.
Yeah.
Put them in there next to your grafts.
Definitely.
Well, tell us about your operation, Jay.
Yeah.
What have you? I think you said you have one hive.
It is pretty good. I have one hive and got them this earlier, or actually it was later in the spring, and I waited a little too late. It was, I think we were in May whenever I got them, later May, and luckily I still found someone who had packages, and I got a package and I put it in, I think, next day, and yeah, it went pretty smooth. They went in there fine, and still new beekeeper, and so I'm still learning and stuff like that. And so at first I had done a whole bunch of stuff wrong and I was worried sick, but then I kind of got the grasp of things, and it's working right now. They're doing good. They've hatched a lot of brood, which has been really good lately because it's boosted the population up about double, and they're working really strong. And I put in this entrance feeder, and they'll get robbed a lot. And I've heard a lot of people saying you don't need to use entrance feeders. And so I don't know. I didn't know what to do right there. So I'm still learning, and I'm not sure yet, but I'm gonna figure it out. And there's a lot of people I can go to get help from.
Just remember, every piece of equipment that you're going to utilize will have its pros and cons. Okay. I don't believe there's any perfect piece of equipment out there, because what you might like yourself, I might not like myself. You know what I mean? So some of it's just personal preference, but there's always, you know, for instance, like you said, with the entrance feeders, during the dearth, which generally is the time that you may be feeding your bees, when you put that really close to the entrance, it's particularly on a small colony, you are sometimes kind of inviting potential robber bees there at the entrance where it's really close. So me personally, I try to feed within the colony, say maybe a hive top feeder, maybe a bucket feeder, or a division board or frame feeder. Now I wouldn't say that, you know, if you don't have a great water source that's fairly close, like a creek, pond, river, something like that, maybe what you can do is utilize that entrance feeder, maybe use it for putting water in, you know, that way there's bee water that would be really close, you know. So, you know, not that you don't not have to use it. And if you choose to use it with sugar syrup, then that's okay. Just understand that you could be at an elevated risk of potential robbing. So, you know, everything, like I said, has its pros and cons. There's always a trade-off in everything that we do when it comes to beekeeping. So we're always just basically assessing risk when we're making a move on something. So, but like you said, you'll figure it out. Just be tenacious and, you know, stick with it. Take the highs and the lows, and you know what? Just have fun with them, man. They're a great insect.
Oh yeah.
Jay, do you have any extra boxes?
I do not. I have one right now, and they have about 3 frames full of comb and nectar and brood and pollen and all the good stuff. So they're still somewhat small, but they're growing.
Yeah. You said you were in North Carolina, right?
Correct.
Yeah, I think you're kind of south of Raleigh. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Hey, that's where I need to bring my bee trailer to, is down there to Jay and let him take care of these bees. He's skinny enough to get through the trailer.
You'll fit.
Me and you need to talk after this is over with. You may be my new best friend.
Let's do it.
Hey, just charge him dearly, Jay. Don't do it for nothing. Make him pay.
Yeah.
Tell me you want a portion of his harvest. Now, do your parents help you out with the beekeeping, or is that kind of just on you alone, or how does that work out with you?
No, that is on me alone.
Yeah, okay.
They are pretty scared of them. Well, at least my mom is, but yeah, just me.
That's cool. Okay. Well, there's nothing wrong with that. You know, the trial by fire, you know, so you get to learn the pros and the cons, and sometimes you make mistakes, and then the situation would be you try to do your best and learn from them, right?
Right.
And see, if I brought you 14 colonies, you would have a lot of colonies to mess up from and learn from.
Yeah, I had a lot of people saying I should get 2 to compare, and
Yeah.
so that's probably what I'll do next spring.
There you go. Well, if you can get those bees through winter and everything works out well for you, you can just take that one colony and split it and make 2, and then you don't have to worry about buying anymore. So you can keep your costs down a little bit, you know?
Oh yeah, I'm gonna try. I'm just worried about getting them through the winter as of right now.
Yeah, one step at a time. That's
Yeah.
that's good. Focus on one step at a time.
That's the first test to get them through winter.
Yes, sir.
What do you think about that, Charlie? What do you think? Getting them through winter is the biggest challenge for him, or?
Yeah, I mean, what are you just in one deep now or 2 deeps in your
I'm
size?
1 deep.
In 1 deep. And you got it.
Three?
I mean, everybody was late this
Yes.
year anyway. I mean, everything was so cold in April, where normally you would get your bees in April, and that's why you got them so late. But yeah, feed them. Try to get the comb all the wax drawn out. And that'll help her. Like right now, I've got some hives, some nukes, and if it's just one little medium frame, 5 frame, and you pick up, yeah, there she is. Yeah, there's the eggs, but how much jelly's in that larvae and stuff? Because there's not anything coming into the hive, they're kind of sort of dryish. So that got a quart jar of sugar water, or actually pro sweet for me. Put that on top of the inner cover, and then I put a box up on top of that. Like Tom said, the entrance feeder, those Boardman feeders, they will promote robbing. And when I first started out here a while back, I asked a guy, a mentee or mentor, I said, I got these bees, and it's like a tornado. The bees are around and around on the top of the hive like a big tornado, like a funnel cloud almost, you might say. And I was going through a quart a day. And he said, yeah. He said, they're all going down there, sneaking around the side, grab the sugar water, and wherever they live, they went to go back home. So keep your, I would say with one hive like that, I would reduce it down to, let's say, about 4 inches wide as far as the entrance, and then put a juice jar, as I call it, or a quart jar, if that's what you got. Put that up on top of the inner cover, and then put a box over top of that and put your lid on. That way the bees, the ones that you want to have this fluid, they will get it, not everybody else. So as far as getting through winter, yeah, get through winter, get your bees built up nice and strong. I don't know, Ricky, would you, I guess, treat for mites, even though it's the first year? I'm not sure how far you're just
He's
getting
not
into
got
it.
Yeah, he's not got many bees in there, so I might still just do an OA, real quick OA treatment on it just to make sure, I think he said maybe 3 frames. So
Something real soft.
yes.
I wouldn't do it right now. I mean,
No.
wait till September, well, more like October, November.
Yeah.
And if he just gets one box of bees up and running, make sure he feeds them in the fall.
Yep.
Have plenty of food. I would feed them till they wouldn't take no more. And then something I started last winter, is I put about 1.5 inches of styrofoam insulation on top of that hive, and then put the telecover on top of that. And then, depending on your location, whether you got a lot of wind, start noticing where the storms are, or whatever. Like my hive's behind me. When you get out towards the end of the row, it's open to the air. I have a building towards the other that way, and which is a wind block. So I put carpet around mine, or some people put insulation around it. You can
At what
wind.
point do you stop hive checking, like hive inspecting?
What's that? When do you stop hive inspection?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Well, let's see. You're what, in South Carolina, right?
He's in North Carolina.
North Carolina.
North Carolina. Yeah, I would say, when does it really get cold? Maybe October down there, November.
Yeah, October, November. You're pretty much done.
November.
You're pretty much done with the inspections by November down here.
Oh, definitely, definitely. I mean, I'm kind of comparing what I do. September, I'm still in them. About mid-September is when I start feeding sugar water 2-to-1. And I would say by the time you get done feeding sugar water, but let's say around the 1st of October, I'm pretty much done tearing hives apart. They got that all sealed up for winter. I got them fed. And then like around the 1st of November for me, I start oxalic acid vapor. And I kind of do that throughout the winter, as long as it's 45 degrees, about twice a month. And get that done. So
Yeah, and I think Nancy's got a good question right there for you, Jay. And she's asking, you have a hands-on mentor that'll help you in your area to help you. What do I need to do at this time, and what's the weather where I'm at? You have a mentor to help you out?
I do not.
you have a bee club in your area, Jay?
I do, and I've been looking about getting into it, but
I'm
gonna try and get a mentor.
Well, it's always, I have a bee club, and I was a president and all that stuff for years up until this year. Having a bee club, you can kind of, you're going to get a bunch of different answers, but you get to know your beekeeper friends in your community, and then kind of listen to what they're telling you as far as what they do in the area. Not to say that you have to do it, but you can kind of get some opinions, then figure out what you want to do. And it gives you some contacts and stuff like that, and all that kind of stuff. I think joining a club would be beneficial at your stage right now.
Right.
I mean, coming on these live shows are very beneficial too.
Yeah.
It gets, like on my show, it's an intermediate to advanced type show. And I think that I kind of started the show because you don't get the information at the bee clubs, because it's basically they're always towards, kind of feeding information for the new beekeeper. And after so many years, you get to the point where you're like, I know all that. I want something more information stuff. But it's always good to kind of come into the shows. There's usually one every night of the week, and you can either listen or participate. And they'll get to talking about. Right now, I think Monday night we were all talking about, Tom and myself, and along with Bill and everybody, we were talking about mite treatments, talking about honey, how much honey people have been getting in, depending where they live at. And myself, this year is the first year I'm going to be using ApiGuard. I've not used it. I feel better about it after I've talked to people about it and getting opinions, and temperature ranges and all these different important things when you apply a miticide. So that's where the live chats come in, especially if you've got a question that, you know, most of these chats have people from all over the United States and Canada, and you can find people in your area through the chat that will give you a good pointer as far as, you know, what you should be doing or whatever. So that's pretty much it. It's just treat and feed, and maybe I would say put insulation on the thing called a what do you call it? Condensing hive, meaning no upper entrance. You insulate the roof. It keeps a heat dome inside the hive. It makes the bees survive easier because they don't have to constantly keep themselves warm, and they don't eat as much. And I've found it works quite well. There was always concern about moisture dripping down on them, but with the insulation, that's pretty much taken out of the equation.
Yeah, and I think John's got another good thing here. You know, find a friend and visit their bee yard. That'll help you a little bit too. And most beekeepers, if you stop by their house and there may be somebody kind of in your area, you say, "Hey, I noticed you got bees." The first thing you know, you guys will have a great conversation, and maybe that person can give you a little pointers also.
That's where the club comes in, Jay.
Yeah.
Is that is a central location, a point of contact of beekeepers in your community. And then hopefully you can find somebody there. Hey, I'll come over and help you out and help you in the bee. In the meantime, you're also learning on how to manage bees and stuff. So that's why I say get into a bee club.
Right.
And then they provide a lot of training and also speakers and things that that you'll get information about.
Yeah, I plan on going to the NAHBE this year.
NAHBE, okay, well that's good. Are you gonna have to apply for the Young Beekeepers grant program?
I have tried, and so I'm still waiting to hear back. So hopefully I'll get it, and it'll be good.
Now, is that actually open right now as far as the first gen program, the applications? Is that part actually open? I didn't know if it was open yet.
I don't know.
I don't know if it's open. I just went to their website and reached out to them, and they said that they would reach back out to me soon. So I don't know if it's specifically the next gen program or if it's just the whole NAHBE. I'm not sure if there's a difference. But
Well,
we'll see.
The tickets are open to buy to go to the show, but the first gen program is for young beekeepers like you. That's I don't know, Tom. What's it? Do they get a hive or whatever or what?
So I wouldn't be a good person to ask that. The person that we would need to ask that to would be Chris Medeiros. And it might slightly change a little bit each year. I know they've tried to evolve some things. So with the first gen program, I'll tell you the few things that I do know. I can tell you that if you're in the first gen program, I believe it covers one parent, and I think it covers a lot of costs as far as like, I don't know specifically on the travel, but I believe it covers hotel. It might cover some meals, I think. Obviously, it covers you and your a parent to come to the entire event. Let's see. I think that you guys get special classes that you get to go to. And like I think Bob Benny had given them a special class last year. And there may have been a couple other speakers that did that as well. So you guys get some private time with some speakers, came in, maybe some others. I do know that John Hill with Hillco actually donated a really cool smoker box, I think, to each and every one of the kids that were in the program. And I don't think there was a smoker in it, but I believe you got a smoker box.
There's your answer right there.
Chris is going
next week. There you go. That guy right there, Chris Medeiros, he is the guy that is the man running the show there. So just stay tuned. He'll have some more
Is there
information.
a link to get to that?
He'll probably post it on Facebook. Are your parents on Facebook?
They are.
Okay. Well, tell them
Probably
to like
something.
the North American Honeybee Expo page, and Chris Medeiros will post a lot of information there. So you'll get pretty fast information that comes through that channel.
Yeah, you're right on that as far as Tom is that if you get okay, Chris is going to jump on with info.
Yeah, we can get it straight from the horse's mouth.
Well, what I'm getting at is I do know it's a parent and yourself. If you get picked, there's certain things like your hotel will be paid for, and some financial help there.
Mm-hmm.
And like Tom said, there's special events just for you and so many of the young people.
That's right.
I'm the what?
He's the horse.
I said straight from the horse's mouth, and Chris said, "I'm the horse." Being a
He's
funny
the one
guy.
that's know all the work. That's what it is.
Yeah, Chris would be able to answer those questions I asked to what you need to do specifically to sign up for that. I thought in the past, and maybe I shouldn't be saying this because I don't really know this for 100% certainty. I thought you had to do some sort of like a video type entry.
I think you're right there.
So
It kind of explain who you are, what you're doing.
yeah.
You're passionate about it. They want somebody that, really wants to do it.
That's right. Yeah.
And
I'm certain when that comes out, you'll be able to go to the actual website at that point in time, and they'll guide you to the correct area of the website that you can go on there and start filling the information out that you need to. But you know what? If you get selected, I'm telling you, I think it's going to be a game changer for you. You will not only get a lot of great education, you'll get to meet a lot of great, wonderful people. Probably leave with some really cool merch and some gear and stuff. And hey, you and your parents can come to Sawmill Charlie and Via Honeybees and the entire crew's little party on Wednesday if you chose to, if you got into town on time. But we haven't gotten all those details.
There you go. You need a 3 to 5 minute video and how to get started with bees.
Yeah, just kind of goals, future goals, what you're looking to do, and what you hope to learn.
How you do it and everything.
I think that you'll do just fine.
I hope so.
Yeah, he also lists underneath that, says a short email with more details and pictures of your beekeeping activities will be helpful, but it's not required. So, hey, you know what? Go all in.
Yeah, do it all.
Do it all.
That gives you a good advantage. So
absolutely. The guy that's the most eager is going to be the guy that's most likely selected.
Yep. See right there, show that to your parents. Your parents will be very impressed with that.
I got to say, for a young person, if you'll start early, the doors were so wide open for you. I started so late, but for anybody that'll start at your age, Jay, and really start learning, you guys, younger guys, can really make an impact on beekeeping. Some of us older are just set in our ways, and we're not willing to try new stuff. You newer guys in beekeeping can maybe teach us older guys some stuff. So stay in there and learn some stuff, man. You could be, top notch later on down the road. So,
and if you really get lucky, there's a guy that's over here down in the bottom corner. He's kind of a national beekeeping hero, along with this guy that's straight across from me here in the green. These guys right here.
You got to go the other way. The other way.
You're not going this way.
No, the other way.
And then the guy down below you down here. These guys are kind of like the cool kids in the crowd, Basically, they just tolerate me, but these guys are cool kids, It'd be a good time though. You'd have a really good time there. They'll help cater to you younger folks and really get you squared away. I don't know which way is up. You're not wrong, Chris. You're not wrong, buddy.
Thanks, Chris, for that info, man. I do appreciate that. And we help these younger people out. We need to do it. So.
Yeah. Thanks, Chris.
Yep. Hey, I wanted to show a little cool thing that I actually received in the mail today. I think there's a couple other people have gotten some of these when I show this. And I thought it was kind of a nice little cool invention that was come up with a gentleman here in North Florida, actually. Anybody recognize what this little device is? Oh,
the little bucket alarm.
That's right. Let's see. Let me make sure I'm actually holding it up right.
Yep.
J&L Apiaries. He's down there in North Florida, actually. Had some great conversations with him, as a matter of fact. Really nice guy. That's John. I don't know if he's still in the chat here now or not, but he has several different sizes of these things. I thought were kind of cool. And the more I thought about this little device, I know we sent it out to a few different people, and he has different lengths here, depending on how far you want to fill, let's see, a bucket, a drum, whatever it might be, actually. And, I thought about it, and I think, and don't quote me, you'd have to go to jlapiaries.com. There he is. Yeah. John's here in the chat.
Put your information on there, John.
And the more I thought about it, sometimes you can get some gimmicky kind of things within beekeeping, right? But the more I kind of thought about this actually device, and I haven't used it yet. I mean, it's very, very simple. It's a basic tool, but so I haven't used it. But the more I thought about it, I'm like, okay, if you spent like $50 or $60 on this thing, it's like, well, okay, you spend $50 or $60, but then let's look at it like this. If you lost 5 pounds of honey and you charge $12 a pound or $10 a pound, that little guy right there would actually, if it saved you from spilling some honey. And I don't know about any of you guys, but I myself have spilled honey on the floor a few different times whenever something starts to overflow and you go scurrying across the floor and it's slippery and you're sliding around and trying to get over to the thing to shut the gate off. And it's kind of a cartoon looking operation going on. But another thing I'm actually going to try in conjunction with this, if John actually can get, I know he's got a lot going on. He's fixing to pull his honey here this next week, but if he can get something figured out, he has a device actually that you can plug. So for instance, we have a pump that will pump out of the clarifier into some 55-gallon drums. He has a device that you can plug into that's like an interrupter. So if I'll put this in my clarifier, and what I can do is plug my pump into it. So when the clarifier hits a certain point, it'll kick on the pump it down to a different level, and then it kicks it off. And then my plan to do was, I got the one with a little bit of a longer throw here. This is the 100 series, which I think is let me look again. It's a 4 5/16 drop on it is what it is. And that's the number 100. But anyway, I could put this in my drum and then have it pumping, and I don't have to pay close attention to it. So I'm not pumping all this precious honey over the floor. So I don't know. I'm kind of anxious to try this thing out. I never really would have thought about something like this, honestly. But I don't know. The more I thought about it, the more I thought, you know what, this could prove to be a useful tool. Maybe it's not for everybody, but you know what, if it saved me from spilling, 6 pounds of honey on the floor, paid for itself, I guess. Yeah. Ricky, let's clear something up here real quick. All right. We're going to clear the air. He says, Tom, Ruth says you spill honey in the car, LOL. I promise you that was not Tom. Tom's name was nowhere near that when that happened, okay? There's a lady that I know really well that I happen to like a lot, and I live with her, Melissa. She's the one that spilled 5 gallons of honey in a Ford Explorer.
Oh, Lord.
Yeah. Let me tell you what, and some people may have not heard the story, and I won't go for the long version. I'll do the hashtag short story short. But yeah, so she calls me one day when she was going to be delivering honey. There was a dentist's wife that wanted a bucket of honey, and it's kind of a long story, but Melissa took it in when she went into work one day. The lady wasn't able to get by, so she didn't pick it up. So Melissa brought it back home because it was near where she was working at, basically. Brought it back home. And I don't remember if it was that day specifically. Melissa had to stop abruptly because a school bus had came up around the corner and threw out their stop sign with some kids getting ready to get off. So she hit the brakes a little more abruptly, and basically the bucket of honey kind of fell over in the back part of the Explorer. So like where our third row would be, it's just kind of we have it laid down flat, and it didn't blow up inside the car, which I thought, because Melissa calls me in a panic saying, "Hey, I thought she had gotten into an accident." She goes, "Hey, I just had something bad happen." I'm like, "Okay, what's the problem?" Well, she proceeds to tell me that that this honey just got all over the car. And in my mind, thinking about this, because I didn't see any pictures and I didn't understand anything beyond what she was trying to tell me. I'm thinking that a bucket of honey just completely just blew up in front of this Ford Explorer, right? So I'm thinking the worst, and I'm like, I don't even know what to do. I'm like, what do you do? Call the insurance company and say the car is totaled? I mean, how do you get 5 gallons of honey out of a car, right? Anyway, what it basically ended up happening was I said, you know what? I'm not really sure what to do here. I was out working myself. And anyway, I said, I called up a guy that we work for, happens to be a friend of mine, owns a detail shop near us. And he cleans all my work trucks and cars. In return, we used to trade out some work with him. I call him up and I say, Tom, I've got a really bad situation. I told him exactly what took place. He goes, bring the car down to me now. He goes, I'll figure it out. So Melissa takes the car down there, and they're actually scooping honey into a dustpan, and trying to get the worst of it off the carpet in the back, because it came down between the third and the first row. So the second row were under the seats and everything. And luckily it didn't splash all over the car. It was just kind of on the floor itself. And they're scooping it out. And I went down there later on to go look at it. He was working on it. I said, Tom, here's the deal. I know we have an arrangement where you clean all the cars and I take care of this, but I'm like, this is like the exception to the rule, right? I said, you keep the car as long as you need it. I'll make do on my end. I'm like, do whatever you can do to clean this car. And at the end, you just tell me what I owe you and I'll write you a check. And he had the car for 3 days. And Melissa's like, should I call him to get the car? And I'm like, you leave Tom alone, because the guy's name's Tom. I'm like, you leave Tom alone. You let him clean that car to the best of his ability. And we're going to get it back. And hopefully it'll not be all a sticky mess. I'm going to tell you, when I got that car back 3 days later, he worked on it. I think he cleaned that carpet like 6 times, and he would dry it out in between. You can't even tell a drop of honey hit the floor of that car. He did such a good job. And man, I'll tell you, yeah, only in Missouri. It worked out well. So I'm here to tell you that it is possible to get 5 gallons of honey out of the carpet of a car. It is possible.
I think the question is, did Melissa give that 5-gallon bucket to the customer after she scooped it all out?
She should have. After that, needless to say, when the lady's like, hey, Melissa basically said to her, hey, I just want to let you know we have to get another bucket and and crystallize it, what have you, because this one spilled. And the lady felt bad, and I think she gave Melissa some extra money. And I'm like, she needed to pay for the entire bucket of honey. And I'm like, because the cleaning bill in that car probably would have been several $100s to get it all cleaned up, as many days as he had it and stuff. But it's great to have really good friends that you can count on, is what it boils down to. And the situation was a sticky mess, but it got rectified. And it was a learning experience basically. We don't haul 5-gallon buckets of honey in the car; they go on the back of the truck. So. That's how it works.
Hey Keith, what's the biggest spill you've ever had? And then I'll get to Charlie next to see what his biggest spill's ever been.
The biggest messes I make are when I'm jarring honey and I don't pay attention, and all at once I'll have a big mess. I've really never had a big mess at the extractor, as far or dumping a bucket in a car, but when you're working in the kitchen, it don't take a whole lot of honey to make a big mess, and I never get it cleaned up. I think I've got it cleaned up, and Michelle gives me the look and says, "No, you don't have it cleaned up." She's right. She's right. It's still sticky, and I went and got groceries today, and I set the bags in the back of the old green BMW I've got. I set it on top of some of those old political boards I'd used to cover up some supers with. And dang if I didn't bring honey in on the bottom of all the grocery bags and got the counters messed up again. So honey is an amazing thing. You can your whole world turns sticky when you start messing with it.
Yep.
You get it in places, the steering wheel of your car, all the doorknobs in the house. It's everywhere. But no, back to your original question. I hadn't had a really big spill like Tom, thankfully.
What about you, Charlie? You had any big spills?
No. What you meant to say was not like Tom, like Melissa.
Like Melissa. Excuse me.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
No, really not a big spill. I mean, I've come close to where, the honey's filling the bucket at the extractor, and I had to close it up right quick. And then, you got a strainer full of honey wants to keep on going, and the bucket keeps getting right up to the brim, and I'm like, okay, we got to switch real quick.
Yeah.
Other than that, and then as far as the sticky mess, I mean, it's like he says, I guess the most comical thing was when I first started out, I got a back porch and it's enclosed with glass, and I'm thinking to myself, okay, I'll collect all these newspapers and lay them down on the floor and all that cat. And I'm like this cat with sticky feet, and the newspapers coming up with my feet, and all this kind of stuff. And finally, one of a friend of mine who's a construction guy, he said, you need to get some rosin paper. I said, what's that? He said, the stuff that you, like when you got a brand new floor in a brand new house, like a wooden floor, they cover, with this 3-foot roll of paper. And I started buying that at Home Depot. I get the bread looking stuff. It's more absorbent and stuff. Now this year, a friend of mine that helps me out pulling honey, he's into construction. He goes and gets the Home Depot. It's not, I don't call it rosin paper. It's more like a cardboard paper. It's got Home Depot, embossed on it. And it's kind of like thick cardboard. And you roll it out, and I take my Gorilla Black tape and tape it all down on the floor. And I take it and put it over. There's a table right there on the back porch. I put that on top of the table. So when you get done extracting and there's a sticky mess between honey and wax cappings and stuff like that, spots here and there, when you all get done, you just kind of ball it all up, roll it up. You go out there and throw it in the dumpster or trash man or something like that, and takes it away. And all. So that's the only thing that's where I'm at right now. I got, I guess it was, last night I finished up extracting, and I got, it's like everybody, once you have an extractor, you got the most best friends around. Hey, can I borrow your extractor?
Hey, that's like a truck, right? Yes, I have a truck. I have a trailer. No, you can't borrow it.
Yeah. Hey, you didn't know you had so many friends when you got that new trailer.
Yeah.
And but I got my friend Scott. He comes over. He does a lot of lifting for me on the honey supers, and I've been being his mentor, and he's helped me out quite a bit. So I can't complain there. Got to have him. And then I have another friend of mine, TJ. He lives about an hour and a half. He lives across the Chesapeake Bay, and I've been mentoring him, and we've known each other for, 40-some years, and all that kind of thing. So he's coming over tomorrow, I think it is, he's only got 3 or 4 hives and all that, but that's my fiddle player friend.
How many people do you mentor, Charlie, in total?
I don't really do a whole lot of that. I don't have, I'll say a patience in some ways. I've had people say, can I come over there and help you? I said, sure. Every Saturday, if it's decent weather and I'm not busy, usually at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and I spend all afternoon or whatever. And I said, whatever, or call me up or whatever. And they never show up. I don't know whether they're busy or whether they just, into their own bees or whatever. But
this is kind of off topic, but I have burr comb, and whenever I whenever I pull apart my frame, it gets the comb like kind of right down the middle. And so I'm not sure what I need to do to stop that. Like, should I scrape all that comb off and make them rebuild? Or, like, what do I need to do?
Is the burr comb at the bottom of the frame?
I think he's talking about where you got 2 frame faces and it's going this way. It's webbing in between the frames.
Yes, sir.
That's, yeah.
Are you using plastic foundation?
I'm using plastic foundation, yes, sir.
Do you know, does it have a good wax coating on it?
It doesn't have a good wax coating on it. No, it's I don't know what it's called. It's just the black foundation, and some of it, I don't know if this might have something to do with it, but you've talked about this at one point. It bends a little bit because it sat out in the sun for a little while.
Oh,
And
yeah.
so, but only like, I think only one is like that, but there's still some other ones they're doing that to. And I don't know if it's my bee spacing or what, but I just didn't know if I needed to scrape off and kind of make them rebuild, or if it was
Yeah.
too late to do that.
Well, I myself absolutely do, because it drives me a little bit nuts. I'm a little bit OCD, so I actually do scrape it off. So there's a couple things I think that can be going on, and this is my experience too. Sometimes, so I'll give you a couple examples. So if you happen to have any foundation that came like with, I can't remember the brand of it. It's called a Hive Castle or something. It's a Chinese brand that sometimes they can get off of Amazon. The issue that I've noticed with that before, and I heard people talking about this, sometimes what they'll do on some of the Chinese stuff, they won't use pure 100% beeswax. They'll cut it with a paraffin. So you need to have a very good coating of 100% beeswax. So if you have a very low population of bees, sometimes they'll do that. If you have a seesaw nectar flow, meaning that the nectar flow will start and it'll stop because of rain or poor conditions, maybe too windy, too cool, things like that, or not a good flow itself, because the bees' wax glands are stimulated by nectar, but they can also be stimulated by a sugar syrup as well. So sometimes you can artificially draw a comb if the bees don't have a nectar flow coming in. If you don't see wet nectar inside the combs that you've got, possibly, and I'm guessing by time of year, and Keith will be able to speak more toward this since it's in your region, you guys may be coming toward the end of a nectar flow. So you might start to fight a little bit of an uphill battle to get them to draw a comb. But if you can stimulate them with a little sugar syrup, maybe like a 3/4 to 1 or a 1-to-1 ratio, that would be by weight, not by volume. So yeah, I think water weight somewhere around like 8.13 or just a little over 8 pounds per gallon. Sugar, if you were to actually put granulated sugar in a gallon jug, I think it's roughly about 7 pounds, 7.25 pounds or so. So you'd be pretty close to do that. So if you mix up some sugar syrup and you continue to feed slowly, you can stimulate them to their wax glands to produce wax, and they will utilize that wax on the foundations. Now, the negative side of that is, if for some reason those foundations have been in there for a while and the bees have kind of picked the wax off of there, any coating that was on there, which they will do, that leaves them more plastic than there is that coating on there. You may have to pull those out, maybe get like a pound of beeswax from a local supplier. You can warm it up. I would say in your mother's crock pot, but don't do it in your mom's crock pot. She may get upset. If you can find a used heating source, like maybe a used crock pot at, say, I'm sure your mom could probably find something like a yard sale or a Facebook marketplace or something like that. Then you could dedicate that as your wax pot, if you will. And then you get that and you can roll it onto your frames, any foundation frames that they have not drawn out, or particularly the ones that they've drawn that odd comb on. Scrape it off, re-wax them, and put them back in the box. They would probably be more likely to draw that out well. I just waxed some frames today that I had, and I wish I had some to show, but I took them back up to the shop. I just kind of recoated those plastic foundations enough that you can really feel it on there and kind of see it on the edges a little bit. Because they kind of were set out in the weather just a little bit on a couple of boxes that didn't get drawn. So I wanted to recoat them. So basically the short answer would be, if you have a good coating of wax, pure beeswax on those plastic foundations, and you can stimulate them with either a natural nectar flow or by sugar syrup, you'll likely be able to get them to draw the wax on those foundations. But you'll have to work pretty quickly on that, because I believe once you start getting to late August and September, I don't believe you're going to be able to stimulate them much to draw any more wax out at that point. So, try to get them to, put a little feed on them and try to get a little stimulation there with them.
I was just wondering, because they had there's a lot of comb that's burr comb, and I didn't know if I scraped it off if they wouldn't have enough time before the winter in the fall months to rebuild it, and then they would be kind of screwed. And so I wasn't sure if I should just kind of leave it until maybe next year and then kind of make them rebuild, or if I should just scrape it all off and basically make them start from zero all over again. But there's one frame that's drawn out really good, and that's about it.
Yeah, you're going to need to get a lot more frames than that, unfortunately, to get those bees through winter. So the one thing that if I was you, I would try to focus on and you may have to keep stimulating with some feed. You know, you can just reuse regular table sugar when you're mixing that up. I don't know. There's a calculator that we had on our Melissa always pulls up. I think it's through the Iowa State Beekeepers or something. They have a syrup calculator on there, which can be pretty beneficial to use. But
He might. What was it, Bob Benning? He does actually less than 1-to-1.
yeah, it's like a 3/4 to 1.
Yeah, it's more thinner. It's actually close to nectar itself to get them to stimulate to make wax.
Yeah, he would probably be better using something that.
Yeah, as far as the burr comb or that bridge comb between the two frames like that, I would scrape it off. Scrape it off, but keep it, and then use that and melt. Get yourself go to a thrift store or whatever, or ask your mom or dad ever to get a metal pot, and you can either heat it on the stove or a campfire stove or something like that, and then take a go to the hardware store and buy a throwaway roller about, I don't know, 4 inches wide, something like that, and it's a foam roller. Or one it's got sometimes they want that real the nap, as they call it. It's real, only 1/4 inch long or something like that. But I use a foam roller, and it's throwaway, but I don't throw it away. When I get done with it, I try to squeeze the wax out of the foam, and then I put it inside a little Ziploc bag. And then when I use it again, you put it down in the hot wax, and because the wax on the foam roller will harden, you put it back down on the wax, and it'll make everything loose again. And just, you don't need it to where it fills up the little hole or the indentations on the foundation. Just kind of give it a real light coating, and then that'll encourage the bees to draw wax, especially with, you'll find out like wax coating on frames. You either have, what is it? One, you got triple wax, double wax, single wax coating. And I always buy the triple wax myself. And, or you can, there you go. Same thing. Just a little roller like that.
This is a little 4-inch trim roller is what it is. It's just a foam roller.
Just
on
a
little
foam
handle.
roller.
This is what I was using today. And Jay, so just for reference, you can have your mom just look for like a little skillet pan or a crock pot that you can turn on and adjust the heat source.
Or you can just steal your mom's, like Alicia's got stole there, you know.
So. I stole this crock pot. You could get just a block. This is a brood comb. It's a little bit darker, and we'll use this for waxing up our frames if necessary. But you can actually just put this in there and turn on the heat a little bit to it. Now, obviously, you need to do this under your mother and father's supervision, but you can get that melted down, and just use like a little cheap roller, nothing fancy, and you can use that to re-wax those frames. Now, if you only have a handful of frames, you're not going to need a ton of wax. You'd have more than enough if you just went and got a pound of wax and did it. But if you have additional boxes and additional frames, like for a second deep, you could go ahead and just wax those and get those already prepared, and maybe just swap them out or something at that point.
Yeah. I like the roller.
I actually did my hive check today because I do them every Thursday. I like to kind of keep them. I like to do them, and I'm going to be honest, so that way I can come on the live streams, and if I had a question about a hive check that day, I can ask. But I did my hive check, and I didn't see a lot of drones. Is that normal this time of year, or I don't know? Maybe they just, I don't know. I didn't see a lot of drone brood either.
So how many frames of bees would you say are in that box? So if you were to take that box and you were going to tip it up and you look at the bottom and you see how many bees are in the off spaces, how many frames do you think that you would have coverage on the frames?
Maybe 3 or 4, probably.
Okay. I would say it's likely that you wouldn't see. Oh boy, Keith, what are your thoughts here? I'm going to say anything less than a 4 or 5 frame nuke that's really full and robust. It's not likely that they would make drones or build the drone comb itself, only because you have to have a healthy, fairly robust colony for them to want to produce drones. What's your thoughts there, Keith?
Yeah, I agree. You got to have a couple of things. Like you say, you got to have a. Most of the time, your strong hives are where the most of the drones are at, and but really this time of the year, with the dearth coming on, Jay's just a little further east than I am, but I noticed I don't have a whole lot of drones right now either in my hives.
Everything's going the opposite direction now.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, I mean, I put like my hives. I put in drone comb in the springtime, and they drawed it out, and they filled it up with drones, and there were all kinds of drones in the hives. But we're after June 21st now, after the summer solstice, and everybody's thinking about wintertime in the beehive, and is like I said, back to the drawing and the wax comb. Right now, you need to be feeding them with some 1-to-1 or maybe a little bit lighter than 1-to-1, get that foundation drawn out. That feed will stimulate that queen to lay more. Like I said, in that one little nuke I had, you have to look at, when you go through your hive, when you're inspecting, it's not just the bees and the brood. It's like, okay, do I see nectar in here for those bees to eat? In the combs, in the corners, up around like a rainbow around the frames? Do I see pollen in that hive in certain frames in the corners, kind of like a rainbow effect across the top and around the corners? They got to have that feed there close by, the kind of like the food pantry around the brood, in order to feed all that. So if you're not having much of a nectar flow right now, there's no feed coming in, like the little hive that I was telling you about it. Yeah, she's laying, but the larvae's not juicy looking. It's not lots of jelly in there for the baby bees to feed off of. So I gave that hive a quart jar right away. So they have one nectar for the adult bees, i.e. sugar water. They have some pollen in there. And then that also help the bees generate the food for the baby bees. And in turn, you'll have more baby bees being, eggs being laid and everything else. And along with that, pulling that wax out too. So I think that's where you're at right now. There's probably not that much nectar coming in. I don't know your area, but I know here it's over with. I put out a 5-frame nuke and a 10-frame box of honey supers out there. I took the nuke out this morning, and by the time I got, 50 feet to the house and back, there was already 30, 40 bees checking out that, nuke that had sticky honey in it. Mm-hmm. And then once I put the 10-frame out, within 20 minutes, there was probably 100,000 bees out there sucking it dry,
Yeah. Looks like a horror movie.
Oh, I don't know. I think it's pretty cool. I mean, I like it when you get about 6 or 8 supers out there. Mm-hmm. I got them turned up, I had 10 of them out there yesterday on 2 pallets in the yard. And I mean, it's just a cloud of bees around it. The only problem I had is that I have a parking lot where my car and pickup truck is, and then you have the yard. Well, 3 to 4 brood cycles away from winter.
It's something to think about.
Okay, there you go. You need to, in order to generate the bees, you got to keep feeding them, stimulating them. I'm not sure whether you got any pollen. Have you seen pollen in your hive, Jay? You got pollen?
I have. I've seen.
Right. Well, they got
I
pollen.
want to say, and this might sound a little odd, but I honestly think here the nectar has picked up. Honestly, it kind of went in a drought, I guess, for majority of June, and I don't know, but lately there's been a lot more pollen coming into the hive and a lot more nectar coming into the hive, and I don't know if maybe it's just because I've been giving them sugar lately, or well, I mean that doesn't explain pollen, obviously, but the I don't know, they've just been filling up the.
Your job right now is to build the bees up, build the wax comb up on the frames. So even though there might be nectar source coming in, still keep them. If there's lots of nectar coming in, they won't touch the sugar water. If there's not much nectar coming in, and they will consume the sugar water. They will either store it or utilize it for themselves to feed themselves and feed the baby bees and stuff. So continue on with the sugar water. And then, like you say, where you got that burr comb in there, I would scrape that off and all, and save it so you can melt it.
Do they prefer the more natural nectar over sugar syrup?
Oh yeah. I've seen it on videos. If you, let's say you had a frame of either capped or uncapped honey, you could, when the nectar flow is on strong, you can hang that frame of honey out there on a, let's say, a fence post or a clothesline or whatever, and you might have 5 or 10 bees looking at it. Everybody else they don't want that. We want the natural stuff. We're going after natural pollen. As soon as the natural pollen dries up, everybody's interested in that frame of honey. So that's a good test in your area to know what's happening in the environment and all. So like let's say last year, July, we had a really nice nectar flow. I don't know where it come from. Normally here in Maryland, it dries up. Last year we had a big flow. I put 10 boxes out there after taking the honey off, and the bees were interested, but not like they were yesterday and today, where there was a cloud of them. There was bees, but not a cloud of them. And that shows you the difference, as far as the flow goes and stuff. And all that. I was going to tell you, the other part of the story was when I put all those stupors out there on them, those 10 on that pallets and stuff. Then you go over to your car, your pickup truck and my car. And I'm like, look at that. Bee poop everywhere, all over your cars. Those little spots all over the darn place.
And it's hard to get off.
Huh?
Yeah.
It's hard to get off.
Yeah.
Yeah, I put a bunch of supers in the back of my little blue Ranger last year to let him rob it out, and I'm still getting bee poop off my Ranger.
Yep.
They covered it up.
Yeah.
Well, folks, we're going to call the chat here tonight, and I just like to say thank everybody. Russ, Jay is from North Carolina. I'd like to say thank you for everybody coming to the Bee Connection and listen to a bunch of old beekeepers talk with a little youngin here who's learning.
Yeah, Jay, don't go away. I want to make sure you got that.
Ricky, real quick before you shut this thing down, Jay, hang in there for a minute because there's a vendor that's in the chat right now. His name is Michael with 21st Bee. He's listening to what you have going on, and he wants to help your situation out. You'll see the comment up above. 21st Bee. His name is Michael. He wants to help you out. So hang on the chat after we end this, and I'm going to get you his email information, and he's going to get you. He's going to get you squared away with the frames.
That's awesome.
When Ricky shuts down, just stay. Don't go away. Just stay there. Yeah. He'll bring us all back into the back room.
Yeah.
The chat after the chat.
Okay.
After the chat, yeah. Hey, we appreciate everybody that's been on here tonight, and you guys in the chat. And as always, it's always great to get with other beekeepers and listen to people that's got the same problems that maybe I'm got, or just to tell some good news, which is awesome in beekeeping to hear some good news. So anyway, until next Thursday, God bless, and we'll see you then.
See y'all.